Forget about Afghanistan. What's going on at the U.S.-Mexico southern border? Are white Border Patrol agents using whips against Haitian migrants crossing the Rio Grande? Hey guys, my name is Jason Wesley, and this is another episode of Not a Podcast. So before we get into what was predictable and preventable at the U.S.-Mexico southern border, let's take a look at the footage first.
The group, mostly from Haiti, now numbers nearly 15,000 strong. They've come here with little, hoping to claim asylum, in turn launching a massive mission for state and federal agencies.
There's more than 14,000 Haitian migrants that have showed up in Del Rio, Texas. A total of 208,887 were apprehended in August, 213,534 in July, and 189,020 in May. More than 1.5 million have crossed so far this year, triple the 458,000 caught making the same trip last year. And to give you some perspective, the population of San Francisco is 883,255. Now think about that, 200,000 people caught in August. Now imagine if there was, I don't know, a wall that was there so the taxpayer dollars wouldn't be wasted on Border Patrol agents chasing people down and arresting them to fly them back home. But back in March 2021, didn't DHS Secretary Mayorkas assure us that the border was closed?
We are elevating our messaging so that the individuals do know that they cannot come to the border. The border is closed.
Because what they argue is that the messaging isn't working, and that despite that children and maybe even families are coming because they think that if they get here, the border will be open for them.
Even CNN reporters are stuttering because they can't carry water for this garbage administration anymore. At this point, it's just empty words. I couldn't even believe that Vox ran this story. The far left-leaning Vox headline was, quote, "The Texas GOP sees Haitian migrants in crisis as a political opportunity, but it's actually a humanitarian disaster exacerbated by Biden." Wasn't Kamala Harris the border czar?
When she speaks for me, doesn't have to check with me. She knows what she's doing. And I hope we can move this along. So, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job, and you're smiling, but there's no one better capable of trying to organize this.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And
remember when she was asked if she was going to visit the border or not, and she laughed?
To visit the border?
Not today. But I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
Yes, Kamala, I'm sure you will again. In all fairness, AOC hasn't been down to the border either, wearing her white outfit, fake crying in a parking lot to take pictures. She's been too busy at $30,000 a plate Met Gala, wearing a tax the rich dress, saying that she's a working class woman.
When Aurora and I were first kind of partnered, we really started having a conversation about what it means to be working class women of color at the Met.
Anyways, when Kamala went down to Guatemala, she was asked point blank why she hadn't been to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Madam Vice President, there have been questions about why you and President Biden have yet to visit the border, the U.S. southern border. And I'm wondering if you can answer some of those. So how do you respond to that criticism, and when will that visit come?
The reason I am here in Guatemala as my first trip as Vice President of the United States is because this is one of our highest priorities, and I came here to be here on the ground to speak with the leader of this nation around what we can do in a way that is significant, is tangible, and has real results. And I will continue to be focused on that kind of work as opposed to grand gestures.
I wonder when her trip to Haiti to meet the Haitian president will be to get those tangible results. Oh wait, July 7th, 2021. Haiti's president was assassinated. BBC, Haiti president's assassination, what we know so far. Haitian police say a group of mainly foreign mercenaries, 26 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans, made up the group that carried out the killing. Most of the Colombian detainees have been identified as former soldiers, including a lieutenant colonel.
The Haitian government says the assassins posed as U.S. drug enforcement agents. The DEA says they were not acting on behalf of the agency, but it does now confirm that another one of the suspects was at times a confidential informant.
So you're saying all this outcry about Haitians at the U.S.-Mexico border is suddenly concerning to these virtue-signaling blue check marks, but they didn't know or address or have that same energy when it came to the actual Haitian president being assassinated over the summer, followed by a 7.2 magnitude earthquake in August. Even Chuck Todd, who's been in the cheerleading corner for the Biden administration, appeared to be pained as he admitted some hard truths on Meet the Press.
Of course, the border has been You know, whether this is, we can talk about the border problems. You could say there's years in the making, but it's pretty clear we have a bigger problem now than we've had in years. And these policies have turned into becoming a magnet. So he's got a lot of work to do. The UN speech, look, he's got some credibility issues on the world stage, make sure that people still view America as not just a stable democracy, but a competent leader of the free world right now.
But those stories weren't what actually made the Instagram pages and Facebook pages of race hustlers like Shaun King, also known as Thurgood Marshall, aka Martin Luther Cream. The story that made the rounds on Race Baiters page was Border Patrol agent uses whip to chase down Haitian migrants. Saki asked about image of Border Patrol agent with apparent whip. Obviously horrific.
There are photographs and reports of border agents on horseback using what appear to be whips on Haitian migrants. Does the administration view that as an appropriate tactic? Can you speak to that? There are people who are upset about it.
Yeah, understandably so. I've seen some of the footage. I don't have the full context. I can't imagine what context would make that appropriate, but I don't have additional details. And certainly, I don't have additional context, April. I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it was acceptable or appropriate.
Now, this is from the Black Wall Street Times, and it's an opinion piece, so take it with a grain of salt. But op-ed, the U.S. government whipped black people at the southern border. Now, this is the image that they want people to see and think about when they show these images. It's of a slave patrol going around whipping black people. You even had prominent pastors like Pastor John Gray posting about it. Yes, this is the same pastor that was among the 20 inner city pastors that met with President Trump to discuss how to help the black community. He wrote, "Let me ask you a question. What would make a human use split reins or attempt to corral another human while on horseback? In America, in 2021, how is this okay?" Now, he justifies the Haitians' actions down in the caption. The beautiful people of Haiti have gone through hell. Earthquakes and famines and coups, death and chaos abound. They're humans. If you have to detain them, do so in a humane way. But I'm talking about the few agents who would engage in such horrific behaviors. You don't lasso people. This is wrong. And the silence of the highest levels of this government, and more sadly, the American evangelical church, is deafening. And then here comes the politically divisive part of his caption. When this type of behavior is not immediately rejected and punished, it says to black and brown humans attempting to find a better life here that not only are you not welcome, you're not human. Now, what does he mean by black and brown? He means anything other than white. It's a Marxist divisive terminology, and he, as a pastor, is using the same language as the antithesis ideology of what he professes. Since this video was recorded, he has since deleted the post, and turns out he had already modified it a couple of times before I saw it.
10:44 a.m. Eastern Time. What would make a human whip another human? 10:54 a.m. Eastern Time. What would make a human whip or lasso another human? He got called out in the comments. Someone said that's a lasso, not a whip, so he added lasso. They're both wrong. 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. What would make a human lasso another human? So we removed the word whip. 2:06 p.m. Eastern Time. What would make a human use split reins or attempt to corral another human?
The interesting thing was, when I scrolled down his page, there was no righteous outrage for the 13 servicemen and women killed in Afghanistan and the thousands of Americans that were left there. I saw nothing in his feed about the Afghans that fell from airplanes to their death for a better life in America. I saw nothing down his page referring to anything else at the border, talking about sex trafficking or the rape of young girls at the southern border. Reuters, migrants raped and trafficked as U.S. and Mexico tighten borders, charity says. Central American migrants are being kidnapped, raped, and trafficked in Mexico as they seek to enter the United States amid a migration crackdown, a medical charity said on Tuesday. In Mexico's Nuevo Laredo City, separated from the United States by the Rio Grande, almost 80% of migrants treated by MSF in the first 9 months of 2019 said they had been victims of violence, including kidnapping. No word about that treatment of brown people against brown people. Oh wait, Pastor Gray, I don't remember you saying anything about the actual indentured servant children that are treated like slaves in Haiti. Child slavery in Haiti, Restavik children. Child slaves and domestic servitude is still prominent in Haiti. Today, there are an estimated 150,000 to 300,000 Restavik children in Haiti, according to Free the Slaves. Children as young as 5 years old. I guess it's okay as long as it's black on black or brown on brown, but God forbid a white or Hispanic man on a horse keeping illegal immigrants from entering the United States, not at a port of entry.
Where did everybody go? You want to make the media go away? Just mention black on black crime.
As Pastor Jesse Duplantis says, sometimes the only Jesus people see is the Jesus in you and the Jesus in me. Now, let's actually watch the video footage from where these pictures were caught.
Hey, no.
Now, was that a whip? No, it wasn't. It's called split reins.
The concept of a split rein, especially in the beginning, I need it to have some weight, okay? The weight's gonna be really important, Ernie, when it comes to the timing of my release. I want enough weight in my reins that when I open my hand, gravity will help me out and basically pull that rein towards the ground and give my horse a quicker release just when I open my hand.
Now, Kamala Hara said that she was deeply troubled and fully supports an investigation.
What I saw depicted about those individuals on horseback treating human beings the way they were is horrible. And I fully support what is happening right now, which is a thorough investigation into exactly what is going on there.
I wonder if she fully supports the investigation of why the Biden administration droned a family, killing 7 children in Afghanistan, but claiming they retaliated and killed an ISIS-K fighter responsible for the bombing that killed 13 of our U.S. military and over 200 Afghans.
And President Biden used the strike as an example of a new over-the-horizon counterterrorism strategy.
We can strike terrorists and targets without American boots on the ground, or very few if needed. We've shown that capacity just in the last week. We struck ISIS-K remotely, days after they murdered 13 of our service members and dozens of innocent Afghans.
Instead of taking out terrorists, however, the U.S. Hellfire missile killed 10 members of the Ahmadi family, including Amal Ahmadi's 3-year-old daughter, Malika. The driver of the targeted vehicle was Zamarai Ahmadi, a longtime aid worker with a U.S.-based group. Rather than carrying explosives, it's believed his car was full of water bottles for his family. Wahid al-Zahir, a former co-worker of Ahmadi's, tells CBN News his colleague was passionate about humanitarian work.
CENTCOM Commander Kenneth McKenzie admits this Biden administration killed a family with children.
That it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology.
So much for Biden's over-the-horizon strategy. And I guess it's funny because I didn't see any of that posted on the pastor's Instagram pages as well. Was it because they weren't black, weren't American? Or was the enemy just using propaganda to further divide us? Did anyone not see something like this coming? Even Barack Obama and the Obama administration officials could see the ineptness of the Biden administration. According to Politico, the former president said, "Don't underestimate Joe's ability to F things up." Ben Rhodes, Obama former deputy national security advisor, who is known for his mind meld with the president, wrote in his memoir that in the Situation Room, Biden could be something of an unguided missile. Former FBI director James Comey recalled in his book that Obama would have a series of exchanges heading in a conversation very clearly and crisply in direction A. Then at some point, Biden would jump in with, "Can I ask something, Mr. President?" Comey continued. Obama would politely agree, but something in his expression suggested he knew full well that for the next 5 or 10 minutes, we would all be heading in direction Z. After listening and patiently waiting, President Obama would then bring the conversation back on course. But securing the border isn't anything that's new. Even Family Guy acknowledged it in this clip.
Oh, you already in United States.
We are?
Yes, this Texas.
What? So we walked right across the border and didn't even know it? That is a problem, right? I mean, politics aside, we can all agree that is a problem.
So let's pray over this nation. Let's pray over the situation at the border. Let's pray over the situation that's going on around the world and pray for these people.
I want you to pray more. I want you to pray about everything. I want you to pray until you get tired of praying. I want you to pray until and you won't get tired of praying, because when you see the results of a constant and consistent prayer life, pray every chance you get. Make people get tired of you because you pray so much. When they want to gossip, you say, "I want to pray." When they want to talk about how bad it is, you say, "I want to pray." Let me pray about this and watch the results that show up in your life because you pray.
To be overcome, by your presence, Lord.